May this be for God's greater honor and glory. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Well, we finally have some fairly lovely summer-like weather. We're not on our front door stoop roasting at 106. It's a delightful 90. But the humidity's down, so that makes it pretty tolerable. I remember being in the house and thinking to myself, I'd been there for days and days. Thank God for air conditioning. And I just wished that I could go outside. I mean, not to go for a walk, just to go out on the front porch. And so I did. I went out on the front porch and I was there about 30 seconds and I soon regretted it. So I went inside. I heard the mailman come along and the dogs always go barking at Dave, and Dave, the mailman, gives him a treat. And I get down and get the mail. And it's only maybe 50 feet from the front door down the driveway to the mailbox. But then it's another 50 feet back to the house. And I thought to myself, you know, if I had to do this for any length of time, I'd be just strung out. I'd be exhausted. And I had the feeling that there was something wrong with me. What's wrong with me that I can't even handle a little bit of heat? And someone said, well, you're not talking about just a little bit of heat. You're talking about temperatures that we're just not accustomed to dealing with. Maybe people in Arizona are, because they all love to say, you know, it's hot, but it's a dry heat. Well, guess what? It's still hot. All of this reminded me, or I was reminded of all of this, I should say, when I read the gospel today. Just imagine Jesus in the same situation. I mean, after all, he lived in a desert environment, so he was used to being baked on all day long. He was accustomed to that. And he sent his disciples out to teach and to preach and to work wonders and to heal in his name. And they all came back with all kinds of marvelous stories about guess what we did, and guess where we went, and guess whom we spoke with. And he said, you must be really tired. You must be very hungry. So come a while with me and we'll go to a deserted place. You know, so I don't know if they had a nice cabin in the woods somewhere. I don't know. But wherever they went, he had an idea that they were going to sit and rest for a while and probably drink some good wine and have something to eat and get some sleep, but no such luck. He's in a boat and he's on the Sea of Galilee, and he gets to the other side, and guess who's there waiting for him? Only 1,000 of his dearest and closest friends who want favors from him. They want him to do this, they want him to do that, they want him to go here and cure this one, they want him to go there and cure this one, and he's just flat out exhausted. But what did he do? Did he tell them all to get lost? No. Did he tell them all, you know, let me catch up on some sleep and I'll deal with you later. Stick around for another hour. No, he didn't say that. He felt compassion on them. And that's the point of today's gospel. He knew what it was to be like them, suffering, because he himself had suffered. Compassio means with suffering. So when he had compassion on them, he knew exactly how they felt because he'd felt the same way himself. And he couldn't possibly say to them, you know, well, not now, guys. I'm too tired. I just want to catch up on some sleep and have something to eat and drink. Don't bother me. He didn't say that. And he's enjoining his disciples, and all of us, by the way, to respond the same way. When we see people in need, and all you have to do is open your eyes and look around. When we see people in need, our immediate response ought to be, there but for the grace of God go I. I mean, I could be out there begging because I don't have a house to live in. I could be out there with my hat in my hand asking for a handout because I just lost my house or I just lost my job or whatever. We simply don't know the pain and the anguish that people suffer when they present themselves to us humbly asking us for help. We don't know where they've been. We don't know how they've suffered. And we don't know what it took for them to swallow their pride and say, please help me. I need your help. When Jesus sent his disciples out to preach and to teach and to heal and to cure, he had a whole lot more in mind than simply a missionary exhibition. He wanted them to understand what it meant to be confronted by people who were firm believers and yet who were suffering a great deal, and suffering because of circumstances through which they had no control over themselves, but they were suffering nonetheless. They were caught in the middle. Jesus understands that, and he's asking us to be as sympathetic and as compassionate as possible when it comes to seeing people that we know are suffering, and we think to ourselves, what did it take for that person to come up here and beg for help? I mean, a long, long time ago, they got rid of all their pride. That was gone. That was a given, that there was no pride left, that they had the dignity of a human being, but that they also understood that to ask for God's help, we have to get down on our hands and knees and say, please. So here we are during this silent, contemplative liturgy, despite the wonderful efforts of our choir to at least get us started. Well, let's ask the Lord to give us the grace and strength to appreciate the things that we have, first of all, but then secondly, to understand that people who are suffering are right around the corner, they're right in front of us, and they need our help. And it's not just a prayerful thought and good wishes. They need a little something more than prayerful thoughts and good wishes. So in compassion, let's exercise the compassion of Christ and do as he did for the many people that were surrounding him. Amen. May God be praised.